Oh,
There we go.
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, after all of that, I welcome to the Access Forum for Film Hub Scotland on dementia-friendly screenings. I know most of you, but if I haven't met any of you, those of you before that are here, my name is Hannah Wiley and I'm the Network and Knowledge Coordinator at Film Hub Scotland. This afternoon, I'm delighted to welcome a few people to speak on their experiences of holding dementia-friendly screenings in their respective cinemas. We have Nicola Scott, who's a Community Engagement Officer at the GFT, who will be speaking to us about Movie Memories programme. We also have Jim Dutch, who's a GFT volunteer, and I'm looking forward to hearing about his experience of supporting Movie Memories. We'll be starting by hearing from Caroline Farquhar, who's the Social Development Officer at Montrose Playhouse, and also from Colleen and Carol from the Adams Centre in Montrose, and their residents often go to the dementia-friendly screenings at Montrose Playhouse. I hope this session will generate lots of conversation and there's lots of time for questions, so please think about ways that you would like to maybe incorporate dementia-friendly screenings into your programs, or any questions that you have about screenings that you might already be showing. I really want to hear everyone's thoughts and experiences as we go through the afternoon. As I said before, there's a chat function. If you don't want to say anything out loud, you can pop your questions in there. And we also have a stream text available for captioning. So I just want to start off with some information on dementia. It's a condition associated with a decline in brain function. This causes a gradual loss of mental ability, including problems with memory, thinking, understanding, problem solving, and language. Dementia is an umbrella term for over 100 different types of illnesses and disease symptoms. In Scotland alone, over 90,000 people live with dementia. It is most common in older people, but can affect people in their 40s and 50s, sometimes even younger. And Alzheimer's disease is an illness of the brain which causes dementia, and over half the people in Scotland who have dementia have Alzheimer's disease, and vascular dementia is the second most common type. So it's really something that is prevalent in our society. And as you'll see from the next few facts I have, it's only going to increase. So there's a link between loneliness and dementia, and an increase in loneliness is contributing to increasing levels of dementia in over 65s. And 100,000 people, older people in Scotland, feel lonely all or most of the time. And the number of people in Scotland living with dementia is expected to increase to over 120,000 in the next 20 years. And when you think about what we've been through in the last few years, I feel that loneliness is something that is really kind of increasing in our community. So it's something that we all need to be mindful of and think about ways that we can welcome people into our venues, as you know, as we try and show them as kind of make cinema and films as open to many people as possible. So I'm conscious of the time of our kind of friends at the Adams Centre and in Montrose. So I'm going to welcome Caroline Farquhar to share their experiences first. So yes, please, Caroline, take it away.
Hi, Hannah, thank you for the introduction. So I'm Caroline Farquhar. I'm the Social Development Officer for the Montrose Playhouse. And for those who don't know anything about us, we are a charity with a 3-screen cinema, arts and activity hub, a shop and a cafe bar. And we're celebrating our first birthday this week, so yay, go us. Montrose sits on the east coast, halfway between Dundee and Aberdeen. The population is around 12,500 people, but within a 15-mile radius of our cinema, we have a reach of around 80,000 people. We might be new to this, but our building used to be the town swimming pool. before the local authority closed it down in 2012 and opened a new one across town. Back then, our chair, David Peyton, who lives and works in Montrose as an architecture technician, posted a design on Facebook of what the building could look like as a cinema. And within an hour, he had 500 likes and the Montrose Playhouse project was formed. The group got busy and they were working away, and in 2017 purchased the building from Angus Council for £1 as a community asset transfer. They were awarded 2.26 million from Scottish Government's Regeneration Capital Grant Fund and set to work calling on volunteers and local businesses who carried out a DIY SOS style strip out of the building and saved the project around £250,000 in about 6 months' work. Appointed the main contractor Bank On in late 2019 to start the transformation in 2020, but obviously we all know what happened then, and COVID had other ideas. Thankfully though, restrictions were lifted or eased slightly certainly, and they were able to complete the work in 13 months. And as I say, the Playhouse opened their doors to the public on the 8th of October 2021 with No Time to Die. My role as Social Development Officer had actually started sort of 6 months prior to opening, and along with our venue manager, Matt, we were employed to get everything started. Obviously, it was a brand new role and everyone was excited to see inside in the transformation. So it would have been easy, I think, for my job certainly, to create a programme and then sit back and expect everybody to come along. But I didn't want to do that. Before we opened our doors, I spoke to local groups who ran activities before COVID to see what they did, who they worked with, and get a better feel for what was available, what was needed, and how we could work together when they were ready to reopen. I also worked really closely with the local social prescriber or link worker at the GP surgery to see who was being referred to her during lockdown and where the gaps in local provision were. And from there, it was clear there were 3 main groups of people that she was seeing, and we could really help arrange activities and support. So the 3 groups were new mums, older people, and people who were struggling with their mental health. We heard from mums who'd had babies during lockdown. They had nowhere to go to meet other parents and share their horror stories. So we created a weekly Baby and Me screening for parents, grandparents and carers to come along, watch a film with their baby, get a cuppa and a catch up. And on the same day, we also host the local breastfeeding support group. They were looking for somewhere to hold their meetings and had welcomed 50 new mums to the group during lockdown. We also have other activities that are on during the week for mums, so they can always find that information on our community notice board once they're in the building. We work with local mental health groups and offer weekly relaxed screenings on a Monday night when the building's quieter to help folk come along, escape into a film just for a couple of hours. We know Monday's a hard day for some people with their mental health, so it was made available then for people. Again, working with the mental health groups, they bring their clients along into the cafe and we've created a safe space for people to come. Deborah, who is the social prescriber, told us that she'd seen a lot of older people being referred to her, but they were experiencing social isolation and loneliness, and that just backs up what Hannah's already shared. Their physical and mental health had declined during lockdown, so we created 2 cinema activities for older people to come along to. The first one was our dementia-friendly screenings, and we worked in partnership with Alzheimer's Scotland from the start. They came along before we'd opened the doors and had a walk through the building to see how we could make the facilities more accessible for people living with dementia. As I say, it wasn't a new purpose-built facility. We were an old concrete swimming pool, but they helped point us out things that we could do, such as different coloured strips along the steps, have help when when the floor was changing, so have people there to support people, improve our toilet signs, and they even helped us pick the colour of cups and saucers that we needed to make sure it was easy and safe for people to come along and enjoy the facilities there. They delivered dementia-friendly training to our staff prior to opening. We have a range of ages in our staff, and some have had family with dementia and some have had no experience. So we wanted everyone to feel supported and comfortable. Of course, with an ageing population, we see a lot of our customer base being older people, and they might not just come to dementia-friendly screening, so we wanted staff to be able to help them out with these times as well. The training was brilliant and I definitely recommend it, regardless of what you already know about dementia. Our trainer Jen was able to tailor it, so staff knew what to do if a customer came into the cinema to book tickets or make an inquiry or popped in for coffee. Those scenarios really helped them to imagine what to expect, and the feedback from our staff was really good as well. The Alzheimer's Society also have a dementia-friendly cinema guide that you can go online and download, and it was a good resource tool as well. We work with the local post-diagnostic team as part of the Health and Social Care Partnership, so they could let families know what was available in their area for them to come together to, and how they can get in touch with us and book their seats. Next, we worked with the local daycare centre and the nursing homes to see what a successful activity would look like, and you'll hear from the Adams Centre, who are regular customers, so you'll hear from them and their experience. But their input really helped shape what we deliver today. They told us that their day normally starts around 10 with tea and toast when people arrive, and then activities start from around 10:30 and finish in time for lunch. So our dementia-friendly screenings start at 10 with a hot drink and cake, always cake. Then the film starts at 10:30 and staff are always on hand to help when people arrive and love a good blether with them when they're going through the building. The screenings are relaxed, so we can turn the volume up if we need to. Again, being able to tailor it really helps. I picked the first 6 months films that we ran, and we offered them, so that was through using the Alzheimer's Society guide, but also looking at what other cinemas offered by way of dementia-friendly films. They were mostly musicals to start with, but we've had a few action films and a few westerns requested by our participants, which we've been able to show. And although some westerns go on for hours, are just too long to put on, but we've really interacted with the groups that access our building and our screenings, and we've asked them to provide us with lists of films that they want to see. And sometimes it's not films that I would have chosen as dementia friendly, but that's what they're asking for, so we're happy to oblige. Alzheimer's Scotland also ran their monthly carers cafes in our activity room, and the Alzheimer's Scotland representative and the post-diagnostic practitioner attend some of our dementia-friendly films. They call it work, I'm not sure, but it's a great way for them to integrate into the building as well, and see people in an informal setting. So the area of Angus is actually being piloted just now as a dementia meeting centre, and they are there's one just opened up in Montrose about 6 months ago. They're for people, they're not daycare, but they're for people who are experiencing early and mild symptoms of dementia. Montrose Connections, which is our local dementia meeting centre, they opened their doors about 6 months ago, and we've invited them into the Playhouse as well and held pop-up events with them to raise awareness about who they are, what they do, and how people can get in touch. Our relaxed screenings that we offer, so the Baby and Me, our Monday night sessions, and our dementia-friendly sessions are all open to the public to book online, so anyone can come along if they fancy the film, but we also make them pay what you can on the day to make sure that they're accessible to as many people as possible. We don't actively advertise that through social media, but we share it with the partners that we work with. We've got a great relationship in the local community with both services and with local groups as well. We want to make sure that everybody has the same experience when they come along. There's nothing that we do from a community aspect that stands alone, and that's really been a conscious decision. It was something I was keen to make sure that we offer a wraparound support to our whole community. So all of our social screening programmes has something else that complements it, and that was really important to me. I think I'm a great fan of saying, you don't know what you don't know. So how do people find that out? And we found that certainly coming out of lockdown and people coming into the cinema. Our facility is open 7 days a week. We're open from 9 in the morning till 11 at night. So it's a great place for people to access information, and we have a community notice board, and we're not precious about what we put up on it, because we really see it as a great source of information for everybody. So yeah, that's the kind of background as to who we are and how we got here. Say 12 months on, we're doing okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I loved hearing, we've spoken before about the wraparound care, and I love the idea that nothing that you do is standalone. It all ties into everything else that's happening in the community, whether that's the dementia-friendly screenings or the baby and me, and kind of finding out the breastfeeding groups that are going on, and really sort of tying them in. We've got Irene and hopefully Colleen and Carol from the Adam Centre. I know they might not have much time to stay with us, but it would be really great to hear your thoughts on the screenings and what they mean to your residents, but also what you expect from the venue when you're visiting them, and what's useful for you to have as a venue.
It's been an absolute godsend for us and our service users. It's a fantastic facility. It's suitable in all ways. It's safety is obviously paramount with our service users, and the staff are ever so helpful.
Yeah, Caroline and Cheryl have come down to the Adam Centre to see what we do down here. So we have great links with the cinema, and anything that we need, or if we have any ideas, then Caroline's always willing to accommodate us, whether the movie needs to be turned down or the sound needs to be turned up for people who are hard to hear, and also it's not so dark. The lights are turned up ever so slightly, but the staff's always there to help us in the building, and also when we leave the building as well. And yeah, it's really good. You're a really big asset to the community, Caroline.
Yeah,
that's great to hear. And does it help? I mean, Caroline mentioned the programming, and it's something that we'll hopefully talk more about as the afternoon goes on. But does it help that the program is set quite far in advance, so at least for the first 6 months you knew what was coming up?
Yeah, absolutely,
definitely.
Yeah, because we can plan ahead, can't we?
Yeah, definitely. The only time when we have any problem is if we've have a few people off on holiday, but but it's good to have everything set in advance. And the last time that we had asked for more sort of westerns and cowboy movies for the gentlemen who don't maybe like the musical, then the Caroline was willing to accommodate us, so that the guys could have a movie as well.
Yeah, and I suppose it also helps to have the you know, the set time, it's within your timetable as well. And it's just something that people can, you know in advance that at this date, at this time, they're going to the cinema.
Yeah, that's another thing, is because in our world sometimes things don't always go to plan. We may be running a little bit late, and the staff were so accommodating. They got people settled, brought them their cup of tea in their seat. It was so nice, so nice.
Yeah,
went above and beyond to be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And we do notice a big difference after people have come back from the cinema in the afternoon once they've had their lunch. They seem to be a lot more happy. And you know, just looking forward to you know, the rest of the day and wanting to go back again. When's the next time we're going to the cinema? They'll always say, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've heard that from people that do other screenings as well, that it's something that they they really, you know, people really build up to. It's in their diaries. They talk about it for weeks in advance. They talk about it for days after. So having that regular time that people can, so that people know that this is when they're going to the cinema, it's going to happen. They're going to see a film that hopefully, you know, interests them or is suitable for them. It's
for many of them, it's, you know, the only time they will ever do anything. So it's a highlight for them. Really, they do look forward to it.
And because it's in Montrose, and most of the people who come to the Adams Centre are from Montrose. So when they go to the cinema, they might meet somebody else from Montrose that they maybe haven't met for such a long time. So they get chatting to other people as well who go along to the cinema, which we've found that before, that they've met somebody else that they've maybe not seen for such a long time.
And it's not just, it's lovely to go with the people that are maybe in the, you know, in your care, but bringing other people in also will enrich their social life as well.
They always say as well that people who have dementia are more sort of alert in the mornings than what they are in the afternoon. So which is quite good.
Yeah, that's interesting to know, obviously from a programming point of view, to have these screenings earlier in the day when people are perhaps more engaged.
Yes, definitely.
And able to have the kind of the energy to be able to go outside and see something like that. That's fantastic. Just before we kind of move on, does anybody have any questions in particular for Caroline or anyone at the Adams Centre about the screenings? I think Jenny's hand up.
Hello.
Hi, Jenny. Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Caroline. That's very interesting. I wanted to ask you, what's your like you? We have a very old building with really terrible disabled access, and I've done one dementia screening way before lockdown, and I tried to bring the ladies in through the back door. A couple of them were in wheelchairs, and it was just really difficult to do. So how do you manage that? Have you got good physical access to the building?
Yeah, so we're really lucky in that respect that we've got ramps that were there before when it was a pool, and we installed a lift in the building as well. So we're over 2 floors, or 3 floors. So we've got the basement area and with a car park access, but the main door has a ramp access to it. So it means that when people are coming, if there's wheelchair access, they can park their bus just outside our front door, use the ramp into the building, into the lift, which although the lift's new, but it's incredibly slow and incredibly quiet, and the amount of people that panic and think they're stuck, so we have to, it comes with a warning, and then we have a change in place facility as well within the building that was installed, and we have there's wheelchair access on all 3 screens as well. But yeah, we are really fortunate.
But it's very noisy, and it frightens me every time I use it, you know. But we've got 2 sets of steps for people to get to where they need to be, right? So that's something we are thinking about long term. The other question I was going to ask, do you do these screenings weekly or monthly?
So yeah, that was we started off doing them fortnightly. Well, it actually worked out weekly. So how we programmed it was we ran a film on the Friday and then we repeated it on the Monday, because we often found that sometimes people would miss things and they would miss the chance. And once, if we were only shown it once, then they wouldn't get the opportunity to come again. So we ran it twice. So we ran it on a Friday, then we repeated it on a Monday. Again, same format, nothing changes. And then we would wait and run it the following Friday, a different film on the following Friday. So it meant we were running 2 films 4 times a month. But as the ladies have just kind of alluded to, sometimes it was difficult with staffing. So we were looking at how we were going to run it for the next kind of the next 6 months. We're going to try doing it once a month, and again we've booked the films, we know what we're going to offer, so it just means that again they can kind of plan around staffing, the staffing, they'll know when the film's coming up. It'll be the same again, so we'll show it on a Friday, we'll repeat it on a Monday, and if we find that actually we can do more, then we're happy to do that. We're really, you know, we're really flexible in that respect, that we can do that. But yeah, we're going to see how that runs.
The other question I wanted to, sorry, I'm asking you a lot of questions. It's because we've never really done these. We've done a silver screen. We have a silver screen. We have a parent and baby. We have a kids club and all that. But and we have an autism screening that we do once a month. Yeah. And that's totally chosen by the people who go and watch film. Other people can go in on the understanding that this is what's happening. Yeah. So in terms of the amount of people who are not attached to that, so not people who have dementia or their carers, what's your audience size as well, if you see what I mean?
Yeah, so our audience sizes aren't huge, so we have they're always in the same screen. So our dementia-friendly screenings are always in screen 3. It takes 9 to 8 people, and I think the busiest screening we had was when we put on the Christmas film. We had it was it'll make me cry again, so I'm not doing that, sorry. But it was just lovely, seeing people coming along with their family, like whole families were able to come and share a story about it. So so that was really good. I think that was definitely our busiest screening. I would say on average, it's probably half and half, to be fair. We probably have services that will bring people with dementia or older people, and because we open it to the public, so there's a lot of people want to come and see the film on the big screen, and just have that. They know it's a relaxed screening, they know it's our dementia-friendly screening. So you know, they're when they book their ticket, we've never had MD come down and say, you know, you've left the lights on, or you know, what's going on, and they just appreciate that they've got that opportunity to come along on a Friday or a Monday morning and see a film on the big screen. But yeah, I would say that probably number wise, maybe around maybe a dozen folk we probably get regularly that come along. So not huge numbers.
And also, lastly, you do it as a sliding scale payment, so you pay what you can for it. Is that everybody, including the 12 people who come, we'll say, side of the dementia thing?
So it's pay what you can on the day. So because it's open to the public can book tickets through our website. So they can book tickets online. However, the partners that we've worked with that come along on the day, they will pay what they can when they come, so they know about the options. If they wanted to book specific seats or specific tickets, then they would pay the ticket price for that.
Thank you, that's brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I'm just wondering, sorry, if Irene's still there, or if Colleen and Carol are still there. I'm just wondering about, you know, you mentioned, Caroline, about there's about a dozen people that go along to screenings on average, and I'm just out of curiosity wondering if there's a lot of people who go to every single screening, or if they're very selective about the kind of film that they're seeing? Is that something that those at the Adam Centre kind of would be able to just talk about a little bit more if they're still around? That yeah, if there's lots of repeat visitors or people are quite selective about the screenings they go to.
Not really. Like anytime we've gone just as a small, like one member of staff with 3 service users, maybe 4 at the moment. Yeah. But if that was to change to the monthly, we'll have talked about that we may, fill a bus and take a larger group of people.
Great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we try, and every time that we go, we don't have the same people. That means that everybody is getting a chance to go to the cinema if that's their choice.
Yeah.
We want to do that.
Thank you very much. I see that Sandra's got her hand raised as well.
Hello. Yeah, also just another out of curiosity question for Caroline. You mentioned that you use the same screen for each event. Obviously, it sounds like that maybe helps keep it quite familiar for people. Is that why you use the same screen?
Yes. Yep, so that was done deliberately, and that everything's the same every time that people come, so there's that familiarity as well. So it just means that if some, like for the ladies that come from the Adam Centre, they know what to expect as well, so they're not going into different surroundings, but as much for them as it is for the customers as well. So yeah, so it's kept the same for done deliberately.
That's great. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to thank Caroline and thank Irene, Colleen and Carol at the Adam Centre for your input. I know you might have to rush off shortly, so I'll thank you now for your for coming along this afternoon. It's been really great to hear from you. It would be great to move on to hear from Nicola Scott, who is at the GFT, and hear all about the Movie Memories programme that they run. So I'll just bring up some slides and share my screen in 2 seconds. There we go. Can people see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, hold on. Here we go.
I hope when I'm talking.
Hit share. I never hit share.
Oh, brilliant. There we go.
There we go. Okay. So yes, if you would like to take it away, Nicola.
Yeah, sure. I don't think anyone can see me right now, but that's okay. I can just talk over the slides. Yeah.
I can see you, by the way.
Oh, can you?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I can't see myself, but that's good that people see me. My name's Nicola Scott, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator at the GFT. This programme has been running a lot longer than I've been at the GFT. So I've been at the GFT for probably about 6 months now, and Movie Memories got funding from the Life Changing Trust in 2017. So it was a 3-year funding bid, and we got that. And yes, it's one of 3 accessible programs that I run at the GFT. So the other ones we do are Visible Cinema, which is for our deaf and hard of hearing audience, so that's deaf and hard of hearing friendly. And then we've got Access Film Club, which is autistic, learning disabled and neurodiverse friendly screenings. So Movie Memories, a bit like Caroline was saying, we've got like a fixed screening room. So we've got the Cinema 2 that it's always in, and it's always at the same time, once a month on the 3rd Thursday of the month, and that's at 11 AM. And yes, thank you, Hannah. So yeah, all that information is there. And yeah, so the idea is, obviously it's dementia friendly, so we haven't just said it's only for people with dementia, because that can be quite ghettoizing, and the whole idea is we just want to create a really welcoming and social environment. So yeah, everyone is welcome. So it's really we have carers come, people obviously living with dementia, but also we have care homes coming as well, and that's become more of a regular occurrence actually, because before I think we were really focusing on people as individuals and their family members and carers who non-paid carers who were supporting their family members. We were lucky enough to have a steering group to develop this programme, so that encompassed a lot of different people from Alzheimer's Scotland, DEEP, which is the UK network of dementia voices, Dementia Carers Voices, GCVS, which is Community Connectors, Health and Social Care Alliance Scotland, the North Dementia Forum, TIDE, which is Together in Dementia Every Day, and Glasgow's Golden Generation. So there were a lot of expertise fed into the development of movie memories, including having support with, I haven't got her name right here actually, let me see if I can find her name. Yes, Agnes. She was a dementia coordinator, Agnes Houston, and she helped to kind of show us what we need to take into consideration when working with this group of people and what we could offer them, a bit like Caroline was saying about Alzheimer's Scotland helping them up at their screenings. So yes, so obviously approximately 90,000 people in Scotland are living with dementia, and this is rising every year. So we want to make sure that we're catering for our Glasgow film audience, all from like Take Two, which is our kids free screenings on a Saturday, all the way through their life. So this is a really great asset to the programming at the GFT. Can you go on to the next slide, please, Hannah? Thank you. Yeah. So yes, the ethos of Movie Memories is it's a welcoming and safe environment that is very much supported by the Movie Memory Ambassadors, who are our volunteers. We have Alzheimer's Scotland giving us training yearly, and we do the updated trainings sessions, and that's really invaluable. And yes, we don't really act the way we usually act in the GFT, where it's quite quiet and formal in the screenings. Yes, like we do sometimes show musicals, so people can sing along if they want, and that's a really lovely atmosphere. People can chat during the film. Yes, and also we have some really lovely elements which make it more of a social gathering rather than just a screening. We have music at the start when people are feeding into the cinema. We also have the interval with live music, and we also offer free refreshments. And we decided against hot drinks just from a safety point of view. So we give out squash, we give out apple juice, orange juice, and we also have sweets from a local traditional family run sweet shop in Glasgow called Glickman Sweets. So everyone gets like a really nice kind of vintagey looking striped bag with their sweets, and it's about 15 minutes for the interval halfway through the film. We tried to make sure that it was an affordable price point. Obviously, well, the way things are at the moment, £3 is still quite a lot of money, especially since you have to consider people trying to get to the cinemas in some capacity as well. But £3 was a price point that was decided in 2017, and people seem quite happy with that. We haven't had any complaints, although I definitely want to do more sessions next year where I get some audience feedback. But the tickets are £3 and you can buy them on the day or online. And yeah, in order to keep people feeling comfortable and safe, especially after COVID as well, although we did do this before, only 50% of the capacity of the cinema is sold out. So this Cinema 2 has 144 cinema spaces, so seats, and then 2 wheelchair spaces. So we sell 72 tickets. There's only sometimes that we've sold more. We do stretch to 60% sometimes if there is a massive demand. If it's like a screening around Christmas, say, when we've picked like, you know, well, maybe It's a Wonderful Life or something else, but we do put the capacity up, but only marginally. Can I get the next slide, please, Hannah? Yeah, so things that we adapt the cinema, because like it's an old building, you know, it's from like the 1930s, it's quite dark in the foyer. We try to make it as light as possible with like lots of bulbs, but there's things that we can do to make it more accessible for the people coming to Movie Memories. So we put up clearer signage. So this is like big like lettering, black on white, high contrast. There's an accessible toilet right next to cinema 2, so that's great. The carpet is a very flat carpet, so there's no tripping hazards. We're on the bottom floor as well, so we're not taking them up to cinema 1. There's just a very slightly there's, what's that word? I can't remember, but basically the ramp isn't too steep. So that's really good as well. So the ramp goes into the cinema. And whilst there are steps in the cinema, obviously, they are very wide and they are very well kind of signposted in the sense that they've got a lighting at the sides of the edge. So you know exactly where they are. We also keep the lights on during the screenings. They're just a little bit, they're soft lights, so it's not harsh, but we keep them on so people can move around freely if they need to. They can get to the toilets if they need to, and yeah, they're not just plunged into darkness. It's also well ventilated, and like I said, at the back of the screen we have 2 wheelchair spaces. And sometimes we also sometimes the care homes transfer people out of wheelchairs, which is fine, but we try to make sure that we know and they know that they're in charge of helping us get those people out of the building, because we don't want to risk anyone's safety during the screenings. Thanks, Hannah. Okay. Since I've been at Movie Memories, I did my dementia training, awareness training, and I looked at the old flyer that we had. And the thing is, we also program 3 months blocks of the screening, so we know for the 3 months what we're going to have, and there's a different film every month, and that helps people plan in advance. And we used to give this out on an A5. I don't know why I said A3. Oh, we had A3, so there was also like posters, but to be fair, this is the flyer, which is A5, and it was just one small sheet, so the writing was quite small, which I didn't think it's not very useful. You kind of need bigger writing anyway for people to be able to see it better. So I made the A4 flyer redesign 4 pages, so more like a leaflet, and we made the writing bigger, and we also added some images as well from the films, just a still from the film. And we got some feedback from one of the care homes and said that this was really great. It was really engaging. It gave a conversation starter as well. And it also allowed them to like talk to their service users and be like, oh, we're going to go see this film and it's got James Dean in it. And they could point at the flyer. So we're quite happy with that. I did make the most current one with our designer Ryan, and obviously we're always learning, but basically this one is really good because it's high contrast with the black and the pink and obviously the white. And we did a kind of Christmassy forest green, and on the screen it looked perfect, but when it came out it was actually quite dark. So we should have changed this right into white. So we're trying to learn as we go, and we're taking that into consideration for next time. Can I get the next slide, please? Thank you. I'm just going to round it up basically with telling you what we've got coming up. So on the 20th of October, we've got a kind of spooky one, and that's Blythe Spirit from 1945. It's directed by David Lean, and it's written by Noel Coward based on one of his plays. We actually I should talk more about the Movie Memory Ambassadors. I don't know why I didn't, but basically the Movie Memory Ambassadors are our volunteers, and they support all the work we do. They are an integral part of why Movie Memories work so well, because they have relationships with the people who come, people are familiar with them, they help give out the refreshments, they see people to their seats, they just make sure everyone's having a really good time, and they also introduce the film and the musicians who are playing, who we have from the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. So we have, when the funding covers the cost of the refreshments, also the suites, and also the musicians. And yes, the Movie Memory Ambassadors are wonderful, and they wear red sashes, so they're very easy to signpost to people. And yeah, so I consult with them as well as the audience, and in terms of films, and someone came up with the idea of Blythe Spirit. So we're showing that as it is a pleasant but spooky film for Halloween. Also, like Caroline was saying, we do show some, like quite a few musicals. We should not try to show not too many, so we space them out, but we have musicals. We also have films which are nostalgic. We have films with like famous people like Elizabeth Taylor and also James Dean, but we also show kind of like, we try to show some classic Scottish. So we showed Local Hero, and that's sold out. But as it's open to other people, apart from people living with dementia and their families, we do get some of those films which don't get shown very often. They sell out. So that was brilliant. And we also showed The Lady Killers recently, and that's obviously quite a kind of classical British comedy in cinema, so that sold out too. Our numbers are usually around like 60 to 80% capacity, so it is very popular. And we haven't shown many Westerns recently because they are very long, but we're showing Shane on the 17th of December. And then in December, we're actually doing a retrospect of the director of Singing in the Rain. So as part of that, we'll be showing Singing in the Rain, but we have shown that before and it is very popular. So yeah, if you want to go to the next slide, Hannah. Basically, if anyone has any questions for me, that is great. And thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Nicola. I always look at the Movie Memories programme and I want to always sneak away from the office around about, 11 o'clock. It's just always films that I want to go and see as well. So yes, I definitely will be trying to come along and see Singing in the Rain at some point. So yes, thank you so much. And we saw a lovely picture of Jim with his ambassador sash on for the Movie Memory screening. So it would be lovely to just hear from Jim now about your experience of the screenings and yes, what they kind of mean to you, and about the process of being an ambassador at the GFT for these dementia-friendly screenings.
Yeah, hi everyone. We've got about all the ushers at the GFT are volunteers, so there's probably about 50 of them. And then within that, we have a group of about 10, Nicola, who are have dementia training and are movie ambassadors. And I've been there since the start. And we've learned as we've gone along. When you come into the building, there is a sort of passageway down to Cinema 2, and it's on a slight incline, but there's a very dark carpet. And Agnes Houston, who herself is living with dementia, was one of our advisors, and she told us how a black carpet could be difficult for people. So for a few months, we hired a bright red carpet, which turned into a disaster because it would never stay flat. It would always wrinkle up and become a huge trip hazard. So we had to get rid of that. The first few ones we did have hot drinks, tea and coffee, but because a lot of the people had access difficulties, once they were in their seat, they were happy to stay there. And we found that handing drinks over people, hot drinks, wasn't the best health and safety thing. So we have learned as we've gone on, and at no point from the very start, and Nicholas continued this, did we set it up thinking what we would like. We've had advice from people throughout and continue to have that. And I think that's important if anybody's thinking to set it up. And we all love it. We all look forward to it. And we've learned things, just tiny wee things. Like before, I would have said people have dementia. And they don't have dementia. What we've learned is people are living with dementia because you have a disease. It's not the end of your life. Simple things like that. Signage. When you go into the toilet, we have signage on both sides of the door, which if we didn't have the training, we would never have thought about. So tiny wee things like that. As I say, we thoroughly look forward to it because we have a number of people who continually come back, and everyone who comes in has a smile on their face when they come and when they leave. And it's fantastic. And you do see the effect of particularly music, how someone's head will raise at the recognition of either a voice or a particular part of music. It does really work. And I think it's really important for a group that that sometimes get forgotten about, which is the carers. You know, for 2 hours, they come to see us and they can totally relax, because if anything's going to happen, either we'll deal with it or we'll help them deal with it. So they get just a 2 hour break, which could probably mean a lot to someone. And all of our movie ambassadors just love doing it. As I said, we've learned as we're going to go on, and we're still learning. We take their advice on what films they want to see, and Nicola does the best she can to, and gets most of them. I mean, some of them, as we said, are too long. An ongoing problem, and it will always be an ongoing problem, is our wheelchair access, because we only have 2 spaces. And we do ask people if they're coming along if they could contact us, and so that we know what's happening. But we have had people, you know, both wheelchair spaces booked out and then someone else arriving in a wheelchair. And we do our best to see if people can move into another chair. And again, if you have a lot of people coming with Zimmers or wheelchairs, we needed a place to store them if people are going to sit in other seats. And normally that's okay, because we have a cinema next to cinema 2, cinema 3 that we can normally store them in. But again, not something that we would have thought about. So it's just a continuing ongoing thing, our experience with it. But everyone does love it, and it does work. It does give so many people, and we only do it once a month, but people are looking forward to that. Those couple of hours, it means so much, not only to them but ourselves. And if anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Jim. Yeah, I remember when the report came out on movie memories, which I'm going to send an email after this session with lots of links and resources, but there was just a report last year about movie memories, and we went to the launch of that, and it was very emotional hearing about everybody's experiences and just what the screenings meant to people, both from, you know, the GFT and those actually attending. So it's a really lovely, it's a really lovely service and a really lovely experience for everybody.
Yeah, I don't think we realised how, when it started, how emotionally connected we would come to this. It was just, initially it's like anything else, it's something new we're going to try. But although we enjoy other aspects of the GFT, the other aspects we're not as emotionally connected with them, if you know what I mean. We've really taken to this, and it does mean a lot to us.
Does anyone have any questions for Jim or Nicola? Particularly maybe in terms of being a volunteer or anything?
I have one, but it's not actually so directly related to volunteering. That's all right. It's 2 questions actually, if I may. So I wonder if you could speak a little bit more, maybe Nicola, about if there's any kinds of content that you particularly avoid when you're programming for it. And then also, if you were to replicate this in another space and you didn't have the same resources that you do, what would be the most important aspects that you'd like to carry forward doing it somewhere else?
Okay, so in terms of films, like there is an archive. We keep a record of what we've shown. So like I said, there's a lot of old Hollywood and things like that, but I think we try to avoid films which have well, actually, the only thing is we did once show Jaws, and this was before my time, and you wouldn't expect us to show a film like that because there's kind of like some threat, quite a lot of loud music and a bit of gore and everything, but people still came to it. I don't think it was one of our most popular screenings, but it is interesting that that came up. So I don't know, because Jodie would have been dealing with the program at the time, if that was feedback from other people, like our audience members, basically. I do know that we have had audience members who are actually quite young compared to what people expect people living with dementia to be. So we're talking about like late 50s, early 60s, and unfortunately one of our audience members, she passed away, and her husband still comes, and it, you know, like it's a real emotional support for him, and I think movie memories meant a lot to both of them. But we had the discussion about how like we should be picking films which aren't as like old, because it's younger people who have dementia. So we need to think about the films that they were watching, which, you know, they might have a kind of emotional connection to. So he was suggesting that we show Grease, you know, which is like late 70s. So it's really interesting to kind of take that into consideration. It's not just all the black and white, you know, golden oldie films. We also do show some contemporary films, but which have a nostalgic kind of like framework to them. So we did actually show Belfast by Kenneth Branagh. So that's, you know, recent, and obviously it's about the Troubles in Ireland. But the thing that kind of makes it maybe accessible for that group is that it's kind of got a rose tinted kind of element to it, because it's through the eyes of a child. So even though it's about a really intense topic, it's still got some really beautiful moments about the family and from the perspective of the son. So I think that even though I wasn't there for that screening, I hear that it did very well and people very much enjoyed it. So it's trying to consider maybe thinking a little bit more outside the box. And I'd like to also, because obviously like a lot of the films that we show are old, you know, I say old, but they're like from like 50 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, even longer than that, 60 years ago. Like obviously we're showing the film from 1945, so that's very old now. But I'd like to show some more films with like some more diversity in the cast, like people you know, of different ethnicities, people with different life experiences. It's all quite Hollywood and glamorous sometimes, but I think Belfast helped with that. Like it was like a working class family, but it would be really nice to get lots of different perspectives into the program. And in terms of what you'd want to do if you put it to a different, if you didn't have a cinema and you were doing this as a pop-up at a community centre or something like that, I think really the consideration I would say would also probably be like physical access, you know, because the thing is there's this intersectionality with the group of people that you're working with. Like not only are you negotiating a large group of people, but you're negotiating an older group of people, so they might have accessibility, physical accessibility issues, mobility issues. So I think just making sure it's accessible as possible, so basically like your seating's well placed, it's not too crushed together so people can move around freely. The signage would be another important thing, and also just apart from that, just making sure that the volunteers or the people who are working in the organization, there's enough of you and you're there to lend a hand. I think as long as there's someone to support the person through the experience, that's probably the most essential thing.
Thank you.
I think,
Did we have had a couple of pop-up ones in the past, and just if you're going to have, you know, Caroline and Nicola, when they're in their cinemas, you have complete control and you know the building. But sometimes we had about 3 pop-up places and 2 of them were really successful. But the problem with the third one was, well, first of all, you don't have full control of the area you're going into. But the problem with the third one was it was a beautiful building up at the piping centre, really stunning building. It was great to be in, but it was part of the film festival, so it was on about 3 in the afternoon. And this beautiful building at the top had stained glass windows all the way around, and it was a really sunny day. And the sun shone straight onto the screen for about the first hour until it moved around. And there was nothing we could do about it because that started. So that's just one thing you have to be aware of if you're going to have a pop-up. But you know, you don't have full control, and it's difficult to think that, well, the sun's going to bother us. You know, it's difficult to think of all the things that could happen if you're in a strange environment, and you just have to be on your toes if you're doing it a pop-up. But I think they are good. Yeah. But just be aware you don't have total control.
Can't move the sun around.
No.
Frida, you've had your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I forgot what it was now. But actually, about training, I was wondering what that process is like, and how long it takes. Because basically, for me, so I work with Robert up in Stirling, and we're looking to set up a wee cinema in a village just outside of Stirling. And I did a community consultation event with them, with the village a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that came out of it was basically films for seniors. That was a really strong enthusiasm for that. So I think something like this would be really fitting for that cinema. But I'm just trying to think of the logistics of it. And we've basically got initial funding for 6 months. So I'm just wondering about the training, and also like how feasible something like a program like this would be on a relatively short-term basis, I guess.
Well, okay, so I haven't arranged the training for dementia this year because I've only been here for 5 months, but I did online training with Alzheimer's Scotland. That's right, yeah. So I did the dementia awareness online training, and it was really thorough and it was really good. Maybe Jim can talk a little bit more about the training he got here, because I don't know if that was in-house or like in person, or if it was online, because I know they have a lot of good resources on Alzheimer's Scotland. There's really good courses that you can do online there, and they have them quite regularly.
Initially, it was in-house. And it was very good. And then we did like this online, and the lady who was doing it could bring up her slides, and it worked really well. So either in-house or on the screen, both of them were excellent. And it lasted maybe, I'm not sure, 2 or 3 hours. It wasn't a huge chunk of time, but it was very, very valuable.
So it's like something you do in one session, basically, the training?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
When we did ours, it was an evening session, so that everybody could attend before we'd actually opened. And we had our local Alzheimer's Scotland practitioner came up, and she was able to tailor the training as well, so kind of deviated from the basic awareness training that is out there, but kind of tailored it towards a cinema as well. And again, so that staff could know what to expect.
That's great, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? I've got a few, but I'd also like to open it up to everybody else if they've got any questions just now. Remember, you can drop.
Jim's got a question.
Oh, Jim, there you go.
I'd just like to ask Caroline, when you're having pay what you think session, do people normally pay?
So yeah, we're really fortunate in that sense that we have people who will make a donation, but we also have people who, if they have the means and they're happy to pay a full price ticket, well, that will be their donation to the ticket, and it's no different. So when people turn up on the day to pay, the staff know that those sessions are pay what you can. So they'll ask the customer when they come up, they'll let them know that it's a pay what you can session, and they'll get their ticket the same way that if somebody pays full price or somebody makes no donation whatsoever, there's no difference. They'll get a ticket, and they're told with their ticket they can take it to the bar, and there's a tea and a coffee and a cake with their ticket as well. So it just means that everybody's exactly the same. So they'll ask people to. We don't ask people to make a donation. It's entirely up to them when they turn up on the day.
Excellent.
It's actually a model. So our local sort of grassroots football club, they deliver pay what you can sessions. So it was actually something that we adopted with their permission, but we knew that people in the town already knew that system. So we weren't reinventing the wheel. They knew that if they wanted to attend but they were struggling for whatever reason, then actually that it was something that was out there already in the community. So we just borrowed it from them as well. so that again folk made it accessible and folk knew what they were dealing with.
I think also, yeah, kind of pay what you can or pay what you feel models, I think across the board are becoming more popular, and without putting a date on it, I think coming up at some point in one of our upcoming coffee mornings, we're going to be sort of covering that in more detail. So putting that out there now. Matt at Driftwood has just put in the chat that Michael at Screen Memories might still be doing training sessions. They actually got in touch saying that they weren't able to make it today, so they're certainly still around and doing things, and I'll make sure that that link is in an email that I send out to everybody as well after the session, because it also sounds like they're doing yeah, great work with this community as well. Jim, I just wanted to pick up again on something with the volunteers. I know that you particularly do the movie memories as well, but is it always a core group of volunteers that specifically work with movie memories, or does that change around, or is it always the same volunteers and ambassadors that are working on these?
So it's always the same volunteers. As I say, Nicola would know better. I think there's about 10 of us. But I'm sure if somebody particularly wanted to do it and approached Nicola, training would be organised in some way to join us.
Yeah, that's right. Like if people show an interest, they can join. I think there's people who are obviously haven't been doing it for 3 years and have joined like prior to that. So yeah, so we but it is usually the same faces, isn't it? It's very much regular volunteers who support the programme.
And just on the group that do it, just a simple thing that myself and one of the other volunteers, Raymond, because we both have a problem with, we're paranoid about being late, we're normally early and we set things up. And we normally did that every month, but then we thought, well, what happens if we're not there? And we said to people, does everybody know where to get the cups, or does everybody know where the signs are kept? And it turned out that not everybody did. So make sure that everybody in the group knows where things are and how it gets set up. Because, if somebody who is there early and is sick, suddenly they're panicking and where is everything? Just a very small point, but it can be important.
Definitely. Has anybody else got any questions just now? So there's a few more things I'd like to cover and get as much knowledge as I can from Caroline and Nicola and Jim. I'd like to kind of go back a little bit to especially what everybody's been saying about working in the community and making links with local groups, and I just wanted to kind of put it out to all the participants. Is that something that a lot of people on the call sort of have in terms of already having these links with the community, or is there maybe some advice you can give about building up these relationships?
When I came into my role, Jodie had a very extensive list of contacts, so I make sure that I email them every month, basically sharing the newsletter, the dementia-friendly newsletter, which tells you about the upcoming film that month. So I share that out. I also send them written copy about it to share on their social media if they want to do that to reach all their service users. And also I've been going out to dementia cafes. So sometimes I get requests for that. So I go out and I talk to them about movie memories and the GFT in general and the kind of films that they enjoy, and let them know what's coming up. So that's really nice to be able to get out and meet people as well. So I've done a couple of those, and also contributed to newsletters when asked. And I haven't done it because it got postponed, but I'm also GPs, local GPs, I let them know about the service so they can let people that they're working with know too. So I speak to them when they have their kind of online Zooms together.
Yeah, I think that's, Caroline, that's something that I really picked on when we were speaking about the actively going to local GPs and learning from them about what people need and really tying into into the GPs in that way. Yeah,
definitely. worked really closely with the social prescriber, who's the link worker in our area, and just to find out, yeah, where, who was she seeing, where were the referrals coming to from the GPs to her, and folks that were looking for support or activities, and then really kind of tailored it round, so we could, reach those people. And she was aware of what else was on in the community, and yeah, but then also being able to bring in partners. So we do kind of pop-up events that support. So just like a wee groups come in and put up a wee pop-up banner when we're having this, like the screening. So as I say, for the dementia ones, the things that are going to support people who are either carers or people who are living with dementia, things that could support them, they'll come in and share what they do. So people who are coming along have access to other information as well. So kind of thinking outside the box, but being able to signpost folk to help if they don't know what's out there, how they're going to find out. So it's that kind of signposting service that we do as well, and using, so we know people have got a need because they're coming along to the dementia friendly screenings, but whilst they're there, they may find out other information as well that can support them. So if they're coming to one screening, then they might actually find that there's something else on in the area that they can then go to. So suddenly you're giving them more options, more choice, more connections potentially to make as well. So that was really important, I think, to use the facilities that we had and use it as a public service announcement almost.
It is so important, and as we saw kind of from the kind of slides I had at the beginning and everything we've learned over the afternoon, it is about it's providing a service that is it's really beneficial to people's health, so it should be tied into all the other services that they can access, whether it's with their GP or you're talking about these dementia cafes, and it's all about keeping people's social life going, reducing loneliness. And that's why it's so great as well that the screenings are, although I suppose primarily targeted at those living with dementia, it's open to many people who might just want somewhere to go and have a little bit more of a social experience than sometimes you can go to the cinema, and it's great if you have a lovely conversation afterwards, but sometimes you can kind of go see the film, come out. So if there's a little bit extra to it, then it really, yeah, and it becomes more of a social experience, then it's fantastic.
I think as well, it's not just about the people who come along and watch the film, the people that are living with dementia. It's, I think somebody said already, it's about the carers and it's about family. So it might be that actually somebody's come into the cinema to watch a regular film, but they find out that we've got dementia-friendly films, or they find out that there's something else coming up that they can then talk to somebody else about. So I think that's really important as well. And everything, obviously during COVID and things, everything went online and people accessed information, but there's so many people, certainly older people as well, who don't have access to that information. So it's like, what can we do? So yeah, they're coming along to watch a film, but actually what else can we do that helps them that little bit? And if it's not them, their family or somebody else, that their neighbour or whatever, can actually, share that information with them as well. So yeah, it's as much for everybody as it is for that person as well.
Definitely. I should just, if anyone has any questions, then please just raise your hand. Or hi there, hi Wayne.
Hi. Just a question for everybody out there, really. My name's Wayne, and I run Kelty Community Cinema here in Kelty, and we screen films in a local ex-servicemen's club. I was just wondering, for the dementia-friendly screenings, whether that would be an appropriate venue, even though it's easy access for wheelchairs and that. It's more to do with the appropriateness of the venue rather than the actual ability to use the venue, and whether Alzheimer's Scotland actually charge you for these for this training and how to access that training, and whether Alzheimer's Scotland have to come out and see the venue, because obviously ours is just a pop-up venue. So we set the equipment up once every month. So it was just a question for anybody out there that might be able to shed a little bit more detail on that.
Good question. I'll jump in. So we weren't charged for our training, although I think that some may charge, but because we did a kind of a trade-off, so they came and used our facilities as well, and also as we had that link, then I think that they didn't charge us for that. With the question about your venue, I think it's probably something that you would have to try and see if people would come. They'll tell you quick enough if they don't, if they don't want to go. But again, I think that if you're able to provide that service and you advertise it well and you speak to the people who are speaking to people living with dementia, then I think you'll reach, you'll get a good support behind that as well, I would say.
I think in our normal films, at most times we'd have one volunteer in each cinema, but with the dementia, I think you have to make sure you get extra personnel. You do, and especially if something like the fire alarm goes off, you know, these people have a lot of people might have access problems, so it's slower to get them out. So you do just make sure you've got sufficient personnel on hand to give you a hand.
Yeah, the training I did online, sorry, it was free from Alzheimer's Scotland, and like Jim was saying, we probably have 6 to 8 people on movie memories volunteering. So yeah, it really does help having a few hands.
Thank you.
That's great. I've got any other questions just now? I have, well, we could probably talk forever, all of us, about programming and kind of appropriate films in general, but let me just see if I don't want to kind of pick on anybody, but I think they might have had to drop off, but oh, sorry. Wayne.
Sorry for interrupting. It's just back to Nicola's point. We've been hired to go into old people's homes to screen films for them inside of their home, and we screened about a year ago. We screened Grease for them, and obviously people have different varying degrees of Alzheimer's or dementia. So obviously there was people that were severely actually wheeled in beds. Which is sad to see, but it was also beautiful to see how movies can make people come together, and that spark of something, a recognition. But again, like Nicola had said earlier, that these people weren't born in the 20s or the 10s, or you know these people. One of the guys was up dancing, and he had shared a memory of him and his wife that used to go dancing in the 60s and 70s. So, in sharing the experience that he had with his wife and how taking that trip down memory lane, I think sometimes we've had films where we've tended to think, because they've been really old movies, that's going to appeal to everybody. But obviously, those people that are in their 60s and 70s weren't born when these movies were out, or weren't popular when these movies were out. So. Yeah, I mean, we've had more success with the more recent films, as long as it's a little bit more, I don't know, like easier to watch and not bangs and crashes and things like that. I know that Grease was absolutely perfect for the people that we had in that screening, and in seeing people share stories and things like that, it was great.
That's the whole point, isn't it? Just so people can talk about it and share that kind of experience together. That's good to know that you showed Grease and it went well. So maybe that will be on the cards for next year for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that we all have to, just I suppose as time moves on, we all have to shift our perspective about what is seen as a classic old film. You know, I'm somebody that didn't, you know, grow up in the golden age of Hollywood, but love those films. So I'm very happy to see those on screen. You don't often get the chance, but yeah, as we move on, it's the, you know, people's nostalgic movies, you know, kind of shift time frame, and yeah, we need to kind of move our perceptions along with that as well. But I suppose it also just does allow, it widens up the kind of scope for what you can show, and allow a little bit more choice. I think I spoke a few months ago. I think they've had to drop off the call, but it was somebody I was speaking to saying they had tried to do dementia-friendly screenings, and they'd shown, you know, show a musical, and they'd shown High Society, which was a wonderful film, but they found that it was very plot heavy for a musical, so that people were getting quite confused and weren't able to kind of follow the film as easily as they maybe would another, you know, another musical. So they also, in the end, they just showed, I think there's it's called That's Entertainment, which is the kind of compilation of all the old MGM musicals, and there's lots of different, I think there's a couple of different volumes. You can tell I'm a fan, but they showed that, so that they're just getting, you know, it's basically just song to song to song kind of history of all these films, and that was something that they found worked really well, because it's, yeah, not as simple as saying, oh, it's a musical, then that will be appropriate. You do have to look at the content and yes, see if it would work with people. I think Lindsay's just asked about funding. From a Film Hub Scotland perspective, we're always you know, open to supporting kind of specialized screenings, or support to you know, to get any of your dementia-friendly screenings off the ground in any way that we can. And you just, you know, come and talk to us about that. But are there any other funding streams that Caroline and Nicola, that you've found useful?
I haven't had to apply for any funding recently, and because we have a funding manager, she basically applies to lots of different community funding applications and then asks me for my input. So off the top of my head, I don't have any to contribute, I'm afraid.
No, we haven't used any funding yet. It might come to that, but no, we started ours, and yeah, just absorbed the cost. We were really fortunate, obviously being brand new, that our, you know, we're doing well on the sort of commercial side of the ticket sales. So we knew that the social programs were really important in setting up the Playhouse, and that actually that would be absorbed by the offset being the commercial ticket sales. Again, I think that, yeah, that there probably are funding streams out there, you know, being able to offer, you know, if you think about what it is, it's an activity, it's providing support, and you know, on a regular basis, then there will be funding out there. It's just, yeah, I think it's quite difficult just now, being able to access that.
I think it's something that sometimes it's easier said than done, but I think that's what's also useful from this afternoon is to pick up that you don't have to change your whole venue to put on screenings. You know, some of the adjustments that you need to make can potentially be quite simple, and therefore perhaps don't have to incur much expense on that side. Obviously, I know it's difficult with, you know, staff or maybe reduced ticket costs that might need a little bit of support, but I think what we always say with screenings is you don't have to get everything, you know, perfect right off the bat. As you know, Caroline and Jim and Nicola have said, you know, everything's a kind of learning process. So if being able to put in the place, you know, things in place that you can in order to just put on, you know, a screening and reach out to the groups that you're hoping to attract, and then just going from there. Sorry, Wayne, if you got a question.
Yeah, it was just to add the funding streams that I use. Creative Scotland have one, and a community fund, the National Lottery also have one that we've used. The Coalfields Regeneration Trust, I don't know if that person was asking, but in certain areas, especially deprived areas, they do a funding stream. And obviously yourselves for the Pitch Pots Fund, which I've plugged into time and again.
Yes, actually, the Coalfields Regeneration Trust, I'm not sure exactly what their funding streams are, but I do know that Regional Screen Scotland work with them quite a lot, so I can put people in touch with the people that they need to be in touch with if they want more information on that. What was it? It was the National Lottery community as well. Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much for that information, Wayne. And I'll put all this again in my ever increasing email that is going to be coming out to people. So, has anybody else got any questions or anything they'd like to share about their experiences with this? Is anybody that's still on the call, you know, have you perhaps done screenings in the past, or is it something that you're looking to kind of think about in the future? I also know that some people have. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can I ask Nicola a question? So the flyer that you put together, is it just your memory programs that you put on that, your movie memories?
Yes.
And how do you distribute it?
I post them all. So yeah, so because the contact list that I have from Jodie, that we've got emails, and there's different, like, they different carers, different dementia groups, and they've asked for like 1 poster, 2 poster. We don't really give out a lot of posters, to be fair. It's more just the flyers, and I distribute them to like local community groups and local cafes as well. But yeah, but we also have it on the website, but it's mainly, I think having the tangible thing there is very useful for people.
And they're posted all around the GFT. You can't go anywhere without seeing at least one flyer, which is, you know, people see, which is good, because ordinary people come to the cinema, they're aware of it.
Yeah, I think that's it as well. It's making sure that everybody knows about the screenings, because you never know who you're going to attract. It's great to kind of do direct marketing out to particular groups, but again, I think it was when I was speaking to you, Caroline, earlier, that you try and do things where you're attracting people into the cinema who might not be going to see a film, or, you know, it's just sort of trying to pull people in any way possible. So having it advertised around and just making sure that people know that screenings like that are available is only a good thing.
Yeah, we book our films, and we've got our dementia-friendly films booked for the next 6 months. We've just booked them, and we've shared that so I've emailed out to the groups that we've worked with so that they can share it. And obviously we have it on social media, it's on our website. But I like the idea of the flyer, because it's that visual thing as well. So yeah, there might be scope for us to look at doing something like that. And like you say, it's a great talking point as well. The first, our local library have memory boxes, so they had handed in a film one, which we took for the kind of the first couple of months, but we tended to find that people weren't really interested in using them in the cafe, that when we set them up before the film or after the film. But it was, again, we shared that with the daycare centres, so they could use them. After the film, they can use it as a talking point as well. So yeah, it was because we're still learning, and as Jim said, that, you know, we're kind of evolving with it as well. So but yeah, being able to get, and I think older people as well like that tangible thing, being able to see, you know, being able to see it and actually have it in their hands. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's looking at different this might change in the future as we're talking about shifting perspectives of people living with dementia and their carers, but you know, a lot of marketing now obviously is online and digital, but you're having to think about this group of people that might not have access to you know, online marketing or, you know, social media. So it's keeping sort of one foot in the where it's probably most beneficial, kind of keeping one foot in the kind of printed media field, and just really kind of targeting your marketing that way, and having something tangible, and obviously making sure that it's visually accessible, as you know, all marketing should be, but just making sure that it is the right kind, as Nicola said, you know, looking at the colors, maybe thinking about what, you know, what it's going to look when it's actually in somebody's hands. So and making sure that it's as eye-catching as possible. So I think that's obviously all things to consider.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's a group of people, mostly older people, who feel they're being left behind or ignored, and I think that the flyer helps to include them.
Yeah, definitely. Has anybody got any other questions? I realize we've kind of covered quite a lot of ground this afternoon, and it's just seeing if there's anything else before we perhaps think about wrapping up. Well, yeah, unless there's anything else, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank all our contributors, Caroline, Nicola, Jim, and although they've left us, Irene, Colleen and Carol at the Adams Centre, it was really lovely to kind of hear about their experiences, and thank you to everybody that came along and shared their thoughts as well. So at Film Hub Scotland, we just want to make sure that as many people as possible can see as many films as they can up and down the country. I know that we've got, you know, Nicola at the GFT, and we've got, you know, in the centre of Glasgow, which is very different to Caroline and Montrose, and, you know, Wayne and Kelty, and everyone in, you know, various parts of the country. But I think it's really great to kind of get together and share this knowledge and pick out the little parts that people can use just to try and open up cinema to their local community. So as I said, I will be sending out an email to you all in the next day or so with lots of links, and if anybody has anything they'd like to share, then just drop me an email and I'll pop it in that. I should also have hopefully a transcript, because I have lovely captioners, Karen and Francis, today. So I'll be able to share that, and please feel free to get that out to people. And when the recording's ready as well, I'll let you know when that's available. And I said there were a few people that weren't able to make it today, and if there's anybody that you would like to share that with, then please feel free, so that we can share as much knowledge as possible. But for now, I say thank you very much, and yeah, see you shortly, hopefully.
Thank you.